Okay. So every part of entertainment stands to be affected by generative AI, but game making is especially laborious and therefore ripe for automation. Enter AI, and the possibilities are endless. So let's get a take on how AI is going to disrupt their industry from two of the biggest gaming platforms in the world. Please welcome to the stage Twitch Chief Product Officer Tom Verrilli and Roblox Chief Scientist Morgan McGuire in conversation with Harry McCracken from FastCompany.
Much.
Good afternoon, Collision. And hello, Morgan, and hi, Tom. Thank you so much for joining us.
How you doing, Harry?
It's great to be here. I think we're going to have fun, and let's just dive in. This is 2023, so let's talk about AI. And maybe to get us started, let's talk about how AI is having a big impact on Roblox.
Thank you, Harry. It's great to be here. Great to be here with you, Tom.
Cheers.
So AI has been transformative for Roblox. It's been a technology we've been invested in at many levels for a long time. Originally through all of our analytics and telemetry processing was machine learning. Then we moved to safety. So all of our text moderation, we moved from a few years back from traditional natural language processing to transformer-based models. And it's what allows us to perform real-time safety moderation for every text communication on the platform. And then very recently, generative AI has been transformative. We are a UGC platform. Everything that's experienced on Roblox is created by the community, not by our company. And the ability to lower the barriers of creation for that community so that more and more people could produce content, and so that people who are already producing content can work even faster and be more responsive to their own community, that's the excitement today, and that's the future for our company is AI creation tools everywhere.
Roblox has been user-generated content from the start, but is it fair to say that some technical aptitude has been helpful in the past? And are we going to get to the point where it's like ChatGPT, except I can put in a prompt for a game I'd like to see or an element I'd like to see?
Definitely. So as you know, through our free Roblox Studio tool, we made traditional 3D content creation accessible to a wide range of people. Which many of our most successful creators started on the platform as middle school children, started using these tools, which are really designed to make programming friendlier, designed to make 3D modeling friendlier. And then at some point, many of them aged up into using professional tools and importing into our tool chain. And what AI has allowed us to do is just continually lower that barrier to entry. Today, it's the case that you can now create on Roblox without knowing how to program at all. You can obviously do more exciting things if you learn that skill, but we will help you learn that skill by when you start typing code, we will suggest the entire next page of the program for you. And then you can learn from that. You can either edit it directly or you can look at it, see what it's doing. You can create 3D models you can create 3D materials by describing in text what you'd like the material to look like, and we will generate the physically based properties. And you can create animation from your own video. Just act something out and we will generate animation. And all of those are skills that traditionally maybe 5 or 10 years of expertise to learn. Now anybody can experiment with. But I think the key thing to remember is that those generative tools, they're not replacing the human creativity. And so there's always a level, and there always will be a level, where giving feedback to the tool, either in a traditional way where you go to 3D manipulation, or where you give natural language feedback and just talk to it. I think any expertise in art or in programming or game design, that will always be necessary. We're not going to make content for you. I don't think anybody will ever create usable content from whole cloth. So that human creativity, but empowered through AI, is the future for me.
Tom, Twitch is where the world goes to play games and watch other people play games, so you have kind of a unique view of the entire industry and all the games. Are you seeing AI having an impact in the way that it has had an impact on Roblox?
Short answer is yes, but I think really where we're going to see AI have an impact is on two things. It's on the longevity of games and the accessibility of games. The games that do really well on Twitch are surprisingly persistent, and in our experience, it's the factor of two things. It's how frequently can you be updating those games with fresh content, or as an alternative means to that, how moddable is that game? Some of the greatest games that exist today started as mods of, Dota 2 is a mod of Warcraft 3. If you go through and you take a look at the entire kind of first-person shooter genre that came Battle Royale, that started as a mod of DayZ. And so as I was listening to this come through, which is like, Roblox is entirely a moddable platform, but as those same tools kind of go out into all sorts of both AAA games and even indie games, the capacity for those to continue developing and for the community to play with those, I think, has a fantastic capacity to kind of walk back there's some tension in the gaming community over the last 10 years around DLCs and how much I have to pay for extra content after I've already paid for content. I think the capacity for AI to supercharge moderation of mods is unparalleled. But I think secondly, and it was very briefly touched on here, but I think it's worth amplifying, one of the most obvious applications for AI right now is how do we make gaming accessible to everyone? And I think when you ask anyone in an audience to describe a gamer, they're almost certainly going to picture in their heads a 20-something white man, because that's the image that we have of a gamer. But it's actually not remotely close to true as to what your average gamer looks like anymore. But the type of moderation technology that we can now add, not just to games themselves, but to game adjacencies, like at Twitch, where we have a very long history of this, or even in places like Discord that only last year managed to kind of bring auto mod to the fore for those communities. I think the more we can make gaming accessible through AI, the more gaming will advance and grow and continue to flourish.
Do you have a sense of whether the AAA gaming world, which has kind of been like a closed platform for the most case, will start to look a little bit more like a Roblox or a Minecraft, where the players are more engaged in actually creating the content that everybody else is playing?
I think they're certainly trending that direction. Whether or not they will let people end up kind of committing code Roblox style, I'm not sure. But I think what you're definitely already seeing is all of the AAA game platforms right now bring streamers into their development. And they are already treating streamers as first-class customers. So they are certainly much more open now than they have always been to the idea that we would add creator packs and that we would kind of customize games for those people who are going to market them best. I think it would be a natural and kind of sensible extension for AAA developers to take Roblox's lead here and kind of add mods to their games and support that more fully. But I think that probably comes when you keep seeing games that have a robust mod ecosystem succeed as they have been.
Any sense, Morgan, as to whether the rest of the world will start to look a little bit more like Roblox over time?
So I think it's really important that creators can decide how much they want to lock down their world and their content and their IP, and how much they want to invite others in.
Yeah.
And so there's a creative decision there. And it's one that on Roblox, we allow developers to say, do you want people to show up as any avatar? Do you want to impose an avatar? What kind of communication do you want? Do you want to let people build and create within your world? So I think from a creative side, there is always going to be a space for auteurs. There is always going to be a space for AAA. I think from a business strategy, from an economics, and from what the community wants, I think people have always wanted to engage more with content. This is where you see fan fiction, you see parodies. There's all these ways that people want to sort of go into these worlds that content creators have made for them. And whether it's the tradition of PC modding or hacking games, or today what Roblox enables with an entirely UGC platform, I think that UGC is the future. I think it's the economically scalable way, and I think it's what the community wants. And what's really interesting, thinking about what Tom just said and thinking about streamers, is there's sort of these meta levels of, there's UGC within the UGC, right? So there's sort of mods within mods. And then streamers are adding, it's a different kind of content creator, but they're also engaging with our platform on Roblox. And so I think all of these different ways, different media that people can use, I think embracing that is the only way forward for the field. That's the growth that the audience wants.
As you mentioned, Roblox was originally a product for quite young kids, and your audience has been aging up in recent years. And you originally had a vibe that was friendly and a little bit like Lego or Playmobil, but you've also been allowing people to create games with all kinds of look and feels and stuff that's a little bit closer, at least, to a AAA game type of environment. How are you accomplishing that? And is AI part of what lets you do that?
Yeah, so job number one at Roblox is going to always be safety. So we have strong moderation of content, strong moderation of player interactions. And as I said, AI is the only way you can moderate everything that everybody is saying around the world, and do it in a way that preserves their privacy and does it appropriately for different areas. So I think from that base of if you are safe, if you are private, it's easy to start rolling that back. It's very hard to back into safety. You can't start with an unsafe platform and secure it. And we've seen that throughout the industry with various products that have had a hard time if they started fast and loose and then tried to mature and get more responsible. It's very difficult for those other platforms. So we started saying everything is safe for everybody, the most vulnerable members of the community. And then we've now released age guidelines. We're now allowing opt-in. And so now we're rolling that back and saying, if you're 13 plus, you get some additional interactions. You get more freedom of interaction. If you're 17 plus, you're going to get more. And there are parental controls. All of that is enabled by AI because it allows us to specialize moderation for different groups. And what you're starting to see from that is new games like Riotfall, like Frontlines, and whole, new brands, NFL, McLaren, the sports car company, that are clearly targeting an older demographic coming onto the platform and engaging. And I think, so we're making it possible for different creators to make what they want, but still target an appropriate audience and make it safe and accessible to everyone. And that's been all about AI on the moderation side, as well as just helping the creators move faster so they can look at more niche markets rather than having to target the broadest possible one.
Tom, if the rest of the gaming world is opening up a little bit, do they need to think about moderation in the way that Roblox has always had it at its core?
I mean, I think moderation is essential to ensuring that everybody has an equitably good gaming experience. I think I may differ a little bit in that ML is the only answer to those solutions. I think one of the things that is maybe underappreciated about Twitch is that when you form a deep community, that communities will actually police themselves. I think ML and AI is a really great way to scale policing for particular infractions or looking for certain types of behavior. But I don't actually think rule sets are the reasons that people behave well in life. I think, and I talked a little bit about this in a speech earlier, which is most of the things that govern our behavior aren't laws and rules. It is, generally speaking, a desire to be accepted and to continue to have access to something I value. So the capacity for community members to also contribute to that and for kind of reporting. And on Twitch, we are very lucky that we get to combine a pretty advanced AI system for moderation, both video and text, along with the fact that we have 1.5 million community members who are contributing human-level moderation to channels in any given month, gives us a layer of kind of how do we, to your point, Morgan, enable creativity and something that is appropriate in one community without trying necessarily to always apply a universal rule set. So we think of this as site-level safety versus channel-level safety in the Twitch mode. But I do completely agree with Morgan's statement, which is if you aren't doing what we would call safety by design, if you are trying to retrofit your game or your application for safety, you've already lost. If you're not doing that on day one, you won't succeed in the way that you could.
If we had held this panel a year ago, we might have talked about the AR and VR and what lies beyond that. The hype cycle has subsided a little bit, but does that mean that that stuff is not going to happen? Morgan, I know you've been deeply interested in some of this stuff for decades.
Yeah, so I think to do really great things with technology, going back through the centuries, it's always been about having a strong vision, but then a lot of hard work for a long time. And so things become fads for consumers, for investors. You'll see a lot of activity that's a signal that an area is starting to get commercially viable. But you can't pay attention to the hype cycle if you're trying to if you're trying to invent the telephone, if you're trying to invent the camera, the video game, the internet. There was a huge hype cycle for each of those. There was a huge hype cycle. Many people in the audience probably remember the early days of the web. And I think if in 1998 you had said, well, that web fad is over, let's move on, you would have missed the true signal, which is it's going to be a long, slow burn that changes society. And that's my feeling about the social 3D, the metaverse space, is that this is the next camera, the next invention of the printing press, the next telephone. It's a new way of communicating. It's a new way of interacting. We're seeing a fad cycle around VR. We saw a fad cycle around metaverse that I think is calming down a little bit. We're seeing a fad cycle around AI and generative AI. And I think watching that trend is not interesting for predicting the future. That's predicting the stock market for the next 6 months. It's not predicting where society is going to be in 10 years. And I am incredibly optimistic about the hard engineering data and the scientific publications I'm seeing, that after roughly 60 years of work on VR and AI across the industry, across academia, we are now genuinely on a stable trajectory. And what I'm seeing from our own growth in this space is that the demand is insatiable and the technology is now real. But I think there are decades of amazing advances, and I don't really care what the fat cycle is or in 6 months. I know that in 10 years, we're going to have even more amazing 3D experiences than now. This is not something that we can ever retreat from.
Harry, I might even be a little more pointed if you don't mind.
Sure.
I think one of the reasons I'm so glad we're talking about gaming on this stage is one of the things that I think tech has a habit of doing is it observes and scales a behavior that is first evident in gaming and then acts like it invented it. So many people already exist in a metaverse. Metaverse to me is simply when I value my online identity equally or greater than my real world identity. And I could point you to many, many, many thousands of people for whom that is true, both on Twitch and throughout gaming as a whole. I think the real shame in the fad cycle, as Morgan said, is that one particular company managed to brand it, and that company had the least good understanding of it. And so I think the honest answer is we already live in one, many of us, and only more of us will continue to do so as a lot of the hardware and software that Morgan just talked about catches up.
Oddly enough, even though Apple never mentions the metaverse and maybe never will, having tried Vision Pro, I'm now a little bit more optimistic now that some of the hardware challenges are not insurmountable.
That's an amazing humble flex on this stage, by the way. You've tried the Vision Pro.
Sorry, folks. We have just a little bit more time, but are there any other kind of emerging gaming trends we should cover before we wrap up here?
I might jump in for one which I think is really interesting, which is I mentioned just now that we take behavior seen in gaming and move out. One of the things that we're really seeing at Twitch is just how fast gaming-based creators and gaming-based celebrities are becoming like full real-life influencers. So for those of you that don't follow European football, there is this emerging league in Spain right now called Kings League, which is various members of the former Spanish national team who've all won World Cups, right, have decided that the future of football lies not in the organized competitions that exist today, but in shorter format, 4v4 and 6v6 kind of games. And when they wanted to launch that, people who 10 years ago we would have called the megastars of European footballs didn't launch that league on their own. They turned to Twitch streamers in order to help them establish that league and build that content. And I think it is fascinating how quickly we are going from, in this cycle of games has been this quiet undercurrent that quietly overtook the movie industry in terms of its value, into gamers as celebrities, into gaming celebrities are now just straight celebrities. And I think what that probably means is the behaviors that are so native to gamers will only kind of emerge in society more quickly than they might have over the last 10 years.
Are there Roblox celebrities, or will there be Roblox celebrities?
So there are many Roblox celebrities, and I admit to being a fan of several of them myself, and at our internal Roblox developers conference, going around getting selfies and autographs with several of these folks. And in many cases, it's amazing because it's the tradition of the streamers and some of the early esports folks they're really folk heroes, right? They're not a constructed personality, and you watch them grow from somebody who's in your community to then someone who has a talent for communication and for getting excitement and creating a brand. But there's this sort of bottom-up authenticity of that, and this folk hero sense that I really admire. And in general, to me, that's just been the most exciting trend throughout all of gaming. And I think gaming really brought that trend in general to the entertainment industry, which is the notion of there was once a consumer, and your job was to consume pre-created entertainment. And gaming opened up the notion that you're a player, that you're a creator. You're making your own story in this world. And now with UGC, with the advances from tools like Roblox Studio, there's a notion of anybody really can create, that mods aren't only for extreme hacker programmers, but for everybody. And I think that trend, to me, is the most exciting trend, not just in gaming, but all of entertainment and all of media, is that notion of everybody can participate and interact at whatever level they want, that you don't have to be a passive observer anymore. And that, to me, is just so positive as a trend for the world, that creation in a global platform is a possibility for everybody today.
That's a great note to end on. I hope we get to continue this conversation. Thank you so much for starting it on the stage. And thank you, audience, for being here as well.
Thank you.
Thanks, Harry. Thanks, everybody.